When I was about 5 or 6, my parents got a pair of twin-size mattresses second-hand from a family that didn't want to take them with them when they moved away. I got one, and my younger brother got one. We were excited to have them, since they were big kid beds compared to our previous beds. That first night, I remember waking up because something shook my bed. Like I heard it squeak and shake. I awoke and screamed for my mom. She told me it was just a dream and to go back to sleep. This happened again the next couple of nights, but my mom and dad got fed up with it and told me to stop waking them up. My mom prayed over my bed for it to stop moving. That night, I slept fine, and my mattress didn't move again for several more nights. Then one night, I awoke to what felt like something moving inside the mattress under me, like a finger running up and down my spine. I remember telling my mom it felt like a rat or a cockroach crawling up and down my back. She must have thought I was crazy, because she ignored my complaints, and it kept waking me up. It was around this time I began seeing figures in the hall, and instead of waking them, I just snuck into their bed. This is a pattern that continued until I was too big to sneak into their bed. I then dealt with insomnia and sleep paralysis for several years after. After about 7 years, my parents finally bought me a new mattress, and I remember the first night sleeping on it was like heaven. It didn't move or anything. I told my mom that I was so happy because the mattress didn't move, and she was shocked because she thought that I had just grown out of it. I had two uncles who weren't related to each other. They'd each married one of my dad's sisters. They were good friends, though, because their wives were close. So they would take joint vacations and co-host parties and things. One of them died, and his widow bought him a plot in a certain cemetery. 2 years later, the other one died, and his widow ended up buying a plot in the same cemetery, figuring she could bury her husband next to her brother-in-law. That way, they wouldn't be alone. So, I'm at funeral number 2, standing in a cemetery on a snowy day, about to bury my second uncle in as many years. Suddenly, I hear a sizzle. I blink, and instead of a cemetery, I'm staring at the backyard of Uncle Number 2's beach house. Uncle Number 1 is at the barbecue grill. He turns to me and says, "Do you want any lamb?" As Uncle Number 2 walks up with paper plates, ready to serve. I'm back in the cemetery. I don't think ghosts roam the earth, but I'm pretty sure I had a vision of where both my late uncles were, together, on vacation, waiting for more family to arrive. I woke up to my dog jumping off the foot of my bed, where he was sleeping and lightly barking. The way he alerts the house if he hears people in the lawn, or otherwise suspects intruders. He's a good guard dog. I'm still a little out of it when this happened, so the ghostly sound sort of passed by me for a bit, while I try to calm the dog down. But then I start to hear it. A very rhythmic, loud inhale right outside my bedroom window. No exhales, just inhales, over and over and over. I'm frozen in place in my bed, and I do a reality check, since I'm no stranger to sleep paralysis. That's how strange this experience was. My mind immediately went to, I'm not even awake, this isn't real. But alas, I was, and am, as I'm writing this. I've been told about 10 minutes since it happened. The sounds went on for maybe 2 minutes from the moment I woke up. No idea how long they were going before that. But probably not long, since my dog alerted them so strongly when he initially noticed them. Then they just stopped. My dog laid down on the foot of my bed again, seemingly telling me that the danger was over. But God, it was so incredibly close to my window. If it was some sort of machinery in the house, which I want to believe, and is the only logical reasoning I can come up with that at the moment, the next issue becomes identifying what type of machinery sounds terrifyingly similar to a person inhaling rhythmically. Also, there's nothing particular on the inside or on that wall that I can think of besides a heater. Let me also clarify that my bedroom was on a second floor, so we can all collectively rule out the possibility that there was a human person standing outside my window. Thank you very much. I went hunting with my cousin once up on a mountain where we live. We were bow hunting, and he told me to go over the hill and sit. I go and sit between some downed trees. Sit there for about 20 to 30 minutes, and I close my eyes to listen a little better. I hear a growl about a foot away from my face. It sounds big too. I open my eyes and nothing. Nowhere. So I sit a few more minutes, and I close my eyes again. I had my bow sitting across my legs, and something jerked the bow, like a couple of inches, definitely enough to get my attention. I was like, fuck this, and I got up. As I'm going back up the hill, I look and there's old clothes everywhere. I don't know if someone died up there or what, but in the mountains of southeast Kentucky, shit happens, and there's room to dump bodies without people knowing. Just saying. The stories with my kid are different. Creepy as fuck shit. We lived in public housing at the time. Later, they found out that they had moved the cemetery to build the apartments. First time he was around 4 and came running from the hallway between the kitchen and living room and hid behind the recliner I'm in. You could look straight into the kitchen or dining room from where I was. He peeks around and he says that there's a man staring at me. I think, what the fuck? And go look outside the door and windows. Nothing. I tell him that there's no one out there. He's still hiding and says, yeah, he is. He's still there. I know there's no one there, but I got goosebumps. I say, what's he doing? Just looking at me. That was when it all started. He told us there was a woman who lived in his closet. Scraggly hair and mean. He never slept in there. He would just randomly say, do you see the girl? She's wearing a flower dress. He spoke of multiple ghosts the time that we lived there. But another time, I was going to our bedroom on the second floor. My wife worked third shift and was asleep. I got up to her to get her up before work, and when I got to the top of the steps, she sits up and says, who's that woman? I tell her our son is behind me, and that's it. Nope. There's a woman behind you, and I thought she was riding on your back. She was that close. About 15 years ago, in the small town of Darlington, Indiana, my mother had a couple paranormal experiences. I was around 3 or 4 at the time, so I can't speak of my experience. My mom has only had paranormal experiences ever when we lived there. When we first moved there, we had a dog named Diamond. She went outside to tie the dog to the tree in our yard when she met our neighbor, who described it as a crazy old lady. The lady told her, if you tie your dog to that tree, it'll go crazy. It's happened to the last 2 neighbors. My mom just dismissed her as crazy. My mom would see our dog at night, playing around and barking. She said that ghost dogs would come from the forest behind her house and play with him. Slowly over time, our dog became more and more aggressive. He'd attack anybody who would get in range of him, except me. He'd let me play with him though. I could go by him and pet him, and I'd even put rocks in his mouth and he wouldn't even care. After a while, he became so aggressive, we even couldn't get close to feed him, so my mom had to put him down. A few days after this, my mom said that she experienced the scariest thing in her life. She said that one night, she was in the bed without my dad there, since he was at the hospital during cancer treatments. I was in my bedroom, sleeping at the time. She said that she woke up to the sound of a water sprinkler outside of our trailer. She saw our cat staring at the end of the bed, looking out the window where the sound was coming from. She got up and looked outside to see the flames being spit from just the air. She looked for a minute, and it slowly came towards the trailer. She ran back inside to the bed and hid under the covers and prayed that it would go away. The next morning, there were no signs of any burn marks, and the entity never returned. We finally moved from the trailer about a year later, when my dad passed away in the trailer of melanoma that got too far. What's your guys' idea on what all this could have been?